You're with Julian on the Brown Notes and a couple of electronic music EPs rather than album. This one is... I can't believe I haven't got the title. The new Godspeed is something else. It's Godspeed something. So Verraco is a Colombian artist from Medellin who does... he runs a record label and releases... I think he's done an EP last year as well. Breathe Godspeed EP. So that's what it's called. An album of 4 5-minute long virtually tracks, very to the point, very slamming, and an absolute belter of an EP. The opener, which is O Infinity, I think, probably my least favourite track on the EP as a whole. I think it's like one good track and 3 exceptionally good tracks. It does really remind me of the early Chemical Brothers, that sort of Exit Planet Dust era. Leave Home, sort of where it builds up and it's gonna release something titanic. It doesn't quite move on from what sounds like the build phase of the track. It's very big, very noisy, very busy. And when it does kick off, it's not quite a massive sort of Chemical Brothers-esque drop. But it's quite surprising that you get this warm bath of synths come in and then it sort of has its sort of climactic moment, but probably a little bit on the repetitive side. I think the second track the Godspeed track is a lot better. It's got a wood sort of block techno beat going on, bit of a Liberty sound kind of vibe. And the bass on these next two tracks is just huge. It's got this huge dive-bombing wobbly bass, which just occupies the whole soundstage. It sounds phenomenal. And there's more Latin flourishes on this one and the next track, I think, in the percussion at least. And the synths are monstrously huge. I don't really, other than a certain percussive flourishes, I don't really get the whole Latin vibe as much as I get a lot of UK post-2000 artists like early James Blake and early James Holden and Zombie and Burial and Blawan. And it does sound like a lot of machines having a very good party, but it sounds like UK electronic, the experimental, perhaps not as dance floor-y electronic acts from the UK would be more of an influence on this music than Latin music. It's a fantastic track. It's one of the best electronic tracks I've heard this year, as is the following one, Si Ideas Me. Again, some Latin percussion. I read the Pitchfork review of this. They can't help themselves at all. So apparently the music is defined as Latin club, and that's problematic. I didn't really go into it, but the whole Latinx thing is just a joke. It's like Americans just can't help themselves, particularly at Pitchfork. It's like the whole of Latin America is like, please don't call us Latinx, we hate that. And they're like, you're going to be called Latinx, it's inclusive. So you didn't even ask them. And even some of them started saying Latin, which is just too close to latrine. And if you're going to say Latinx, you miss the opportunity to say Latinx. At least that has a bit more of a vibe about it. Latinx sounds rubbish. Anyway, I don't know why Latin Club is problematic. I don't know if it's supposed to be Latinx Club or I've just misunderstood the whole thing. But yeah, another monstrous, woozy bass line, fantastic. And sound manipulation that sort of called to mind artists like Sophie. Not that there are really any artists like Sophie. And some lovely meltdowns sort of like you'd get on Window Liquor by Aphex Twin. No, that's not CE. I've got the track list around the wrong way. That was Climaxing Breathe is track 3. Si Ideas Me is a real show-stopping finish as he drops his shoulder completely into trance. And I'm talking like silence from the late 90s. I wouldn't have minded this one being 12 minutes long. Like one of those old school trance tracks with the massive hooks. And it sounds like one of those, but starting at the moment. You know, you get that 5-minute build up and then it just drops in those epic trance tracks. Like, I don't think God Was a DJ really counts so much, but that kind of thing where it builds and builds and builds and then hits, and Silence as well. I can't even remember who did that, but there used to be quite a lot of those tracks in the mid to late 90s, and they were always 12 minutes long. And I kind of wish this one was as well. It has got the hooks. The hooks are amazing. There's staccato vocal clips throughout virtually every track, but this is proper big room trance music, and the synth washes and the fanfares are obliterating and fantastic. And it just starts at the breakdown step. So it's all lift-off, really, and just like barrages of melodic trance synths going off. It's fantastic. It's a great EP. It's one of the best electronic releases of the year. Verraco and Godspeed, Breathe is 9 out of 10 for me.